Well, I hope this whole thing didn't drive you out of your mind the way it pretty much did to me. Anyway, we're here, finally. These are them, all of Herman's journals from around mid-92 through, I don't know, 96 or something. If you just skip to this part from the beginning, well, then the joke is on me. But anyway, like I said, if you actually sit and read it straight through, you'll see that it's almost a single train of thought. At least you can see a lot of recurring themes and things that were pretty much constantly on his mind. But I'll probably give you a table of contents, so you don't have to read the journal. You don't have to read the journal straight through if you don't feel like it. You could even put it down right now and then just come back later and flip to any page anywhere. And let me tell you, I want to again reiterate and reinforce everything I said before. You know what I'm talking about. Everything. So with no further ado, besides maybe a long table of contents, here is Herman America, giving us a blow-by-blow account. Here is Herman America, giving us a blow-by-blow account of what it feels like to be a young romantic superhero at the end of the 20th century, even though he doesn't always sound like he knows what he's doing. I got to read that again and correct the way it ends. Correct the way I ended it. Giving us a blow-by-blow account of what it feels like to be a young romantic superhero at the end of the 20th century, even though he doesn't always sound like he knows he's doing it. One more time. I should qualify my part in this whole thing. Yeah, I get to write all my thoughts down, even when they're only indirectly related to Herman. But I don't get the final say in any of this. The editors will do whatever they see fit. They told me as much. What they said was, quite gently, don't expect to see Herman's journals in their entirety. And well, that was a disappointment, but the truth is, if all of Herman's journal entries were included here, this book would be so thick you never would have picked it up in the first place. And anyhow, it's not like every single thing Herman ever said was totally, absolutely priceless. A lot of it was just random stuff that was just a little too random and subjective to mean anything to any audience of any width. Let me close with a few more Herman thoughts. Herman says we really only have ourselves to measure ourselves against. Herman says if we don't already know what we look like, how we should act, and our shape, that which we're in or out of, as the case may be, then we are not quite fully functional. Herman wants to talk about the feeling of being fully functional. Fully functional. Herman wants to talk about the feeling of being fully functional. Most of all, he said we all have the force inside us, and it's up to each of us to figure out how to use it, to figure out how to fend off the dark side, the darkness, as best we can. And finally, you'll just have to excuse me for talking about the guy like he's still alive sometimes. It's still a little confusing for me, the whole life and death thing. Allow me to just say this. To me, Herman is about 100 times more alive than Elvis will ever be. To me, Herman is about 100 times more alive than Elvis will ever be. To me, maybe even more alive than Big Bad Bob, the poet and the prophet.